Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. So today I am going to work on part 2 of I think I'm going to call this series Serendipity, and there's going to be 2 parts to it. So this is the second part. And the reason why I'm calling it Serendipity is because sometimes things come together really, really fast, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why that happens for me. Sometimes I struggle and struggle and struggle, and then I have to leave something and then come back to it like a week or a month later. But sometimes things come together really fast. So this is a spread that just kind of fell into place. So I waited for the faces to dry because I applied oil sticks, and so I let them dry for a few days, and now they're completely dry because see, I can't get anything on my fingers, and so they are dry. And I am gonna first take my pen. It's just a regular Velocity or a Pilot G2 pen, and I'm going to just kind of make some marks here. Sometimes I don't want an art pen. I just want like really scratchy marks, like very raw, just like a pen that you would use to write. And sometimes I want that kind of line. So I'm just outlining the shapes here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my blue Stabilo pencil, and I'm going to start drawing in some facial features. And the great thing about this Stabilo is if you don't like something, you can just take a paper towel or a rag and dip it in water and then just wipe it all out, and it's gonna come out. So it's not permanent by any stretch. It can be if I had to put like say Mod Podge over this and seal it, then it would be permanent. But then putting the Mod Podge over this might smear it a little bit as well, so just to be aware of that. So I'm just making some marks here and just kind of sketching in some of the facial features. And over here. And these are very stylized faces, so obviously I'm not really going for a realistic look at all. And so I'm just using, this is a Pitt pen, and I'm just kind of making some stronger outlines here. And I'm going to use this Pitt pen to go over my Stabilo because I'm happy with the marks that the Stabilo made, so I don't need to like erase them or move them around or anything like that. So I'm going to go in with this Pitt pen here. And this is a darker Pitt pen, so I'm going to use that. And I'm gonna leave these marks on the top here because I really kind of like that kind of abstract quality to the figure over there. And so I am now going to, I think, like pencil in the iris and the pupils and just get a little more detailed here. And I think I want this figure to be looking at this figure. I'm not really sure, but let's try it out and see. And that's another way to create movement on your page, is to have the eyes like looking here, because then when you're looking at the page, there's going to be like some back and forth between these two figures, because this figure is looking at this figure. So it's another way to create movement and interest. And I think I'm happy with that. And for this figure here, I think I'm just gonna have the eyes closed. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how it works. Okay. So I'm just using a marker to kind of fill in the lips a little bit here. And I don't want to get too fussy with it, but I always say that, but then I end up working on it to the point of maybe overworking it. So I have to be really kind of conscious of that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm using a different kind of a pen. It's a calligraphy pen, and it just, all that means is it's got like a brush to it, which just gives it a little more of a, like a bolder kind of a line. And so I'm just kind of making some details here. And maybe just kind of outline this a little bit. And one of the things about mixed media that I really love, especially in my art journal, is how I can just let everything be very unfinished and almost kind of like it just has a very raw, dynamic feel to it, because not everything is like overworked. And so I really love that about mixed media in my art journal. So I'm gonna add some eyebrows here. I'm probably gonna need to use a thicker pen. And just kind of working a little bit on the face details and some eyebrows. And just kind of making some lines here. And the calligraphy pen is really sensitive to your hand movements. So like I can press down on it and I can lighten it up, and I can make some really very interesting marks with it. So I really love this calligraphy pen. And this is a, I think it's a Tombow. It's called Tombow. And I, you know, honestly, I bought this many years ago and I'm not sure if they've discontinued it. I really hate when that happens, when you just really fall in love with an art supply and then they completely discontinue it. That really, and then I search everywhere for it and I can't find it, and it's very frustrating. But I guess that's just the way it goes. So let me see here. I'm going to kind of take those marks out. And so this face, it really did not turn out. It turned out kind of helter-skelter here, so that's not a big deal. Actually, I'm kind of glad that happened, so I can show you what I do when I'm not happy with the face. So I'm just gonna add this, and now remember, this over here is oil sticks that I have allowed to completely dry. So now I'm putting my Liquitex ink on there, and it's acrylic ink, and I'm using my chalk paint, and I'm just gonna kind of cover over it like that. And you can do that with the on the oil sticks. You can apply other media on top once it's completely dry. So I was not happy with the lips, so all I'm doing is just kind of covering it up. And now this should not take very long to dry. Whereas the oil sticks, they took they took about 2 days to dry. So I'm gonna kind of build up on top of it. And I'm gonna bring some of that in here as well, just to kind of model the face a little bit more. And like I said, I don't want to get too fussy with the face, but I'm kind of getting fussy with the face, so I have to stop. I have to consciously like remind myself to stop and not work it too much. And see, I left, now this was a stencil from my very first or second layer, and this entire page only has about 3 layers. It doesn't have a lot of layers on it. So I allowed the stencil to show through for the crown, but then I also brought some of it into the face, and then of course there's the neck over here. So I'm really kind of liking that. Like, it just gives it kind of a, like, it's just playing with space a little bit. And so I really like that kind of, like that flow from the crown to the head and then to the neck. So I'm really liking that. And I wish that I had a stencil that was like over here so that it could move my eye around the page, but unfortunately I don't have that. So but it is what it is. I'm still very happy with this spread. So I am now going to maybe go over the dresses a little bit just to give it another coat, because I'm thinking that this is just a bit too busy here, and maybe I need to kind of just tone it down a little bit. I'm not sure, but anyways, while I'm thinking about that, I am gonna work over here because I want to kind of add just a few kind of dots around here just to make it more interesting. And this is my Posca marker, so I'm simply going to just add some dots around here and just kind of like, you know, just give it some interest. So nothing over the top, just kind of playing around. And this Posca marker is great for laying over paint. Like, it really pops, it really shows up, and maybe that's why they're so expensive, because they really do work very well. See, so I'm really kind of liking that over there. It's just a simple kind of a design, but I'm gonna bring some of this line all through here and like that, just to kind of move the eye around. And so getting back to the robe over here, I think I am going to kind of cover up a little bit of it because it's just a bit too distracting for me. So I'm just going to Okay. And so now I'm mixing the cashew with the ink to just get a gray, and that's a little darker than I want, so I need to lighten it up a little bit. And okay, that's a lot better. Still a little too dark. Okay, there we go. And I think I'm just gonna have to cover all of this up here. I didn't want to, but I don't know. I think if I cover all of it up, it's gonna be too flat. So maybe I'll have to leave some of it. And I think in an earlier video, I talked about, you know, painting being a whole bunch of decisions, and that's basically what it is. It's just kind of trying to figure out, okay, do I want to keep this? Do I want to cover it up? Do I want to make this come forward? Do I want it to recede? Do I want this to be, you know, a focal point, or do I want it to be just, you know, part of the pattern? Or, you know, there's just so many decisions that you make, and each decision that you make affects all your decisions that you make after that. So it really is about listening to what your painting is saying and doing and where it wants to go. It's been like, in the beginning, I really didn't do that. And then my art was like very tight and stilted, and it really helps to kind of lean into asking your painting, like, what does it want to do? Where does it want to go? And really leaning into that and listening to it. And I know it sounds kind of hokey pokey and out there, but it really does matter, and it really makes a difference, I have found. So these gel pens, I think I've also mentioned this before, like sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work. And I don't know, I mean, I spend a lot of money and I get like really expensive gel pens, and then they end up not working. I mean, I don't know, there's no rhyme or reason to it either. I don't understand, but anyways, I'm gonna try one more here. Oh, okay, that one works. It's really strange, but okay. See, I have these, like, I have so many of these gel pens, and then they're all the same brand, but I don't know, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. It's just the way it goes. So I'm just kind of filling in some details here. And now it stopped working, so I'm gonna have to use some chalk paint, which is fine. I have a really thin brush and I can just use my chalk paint. So I just want it to be like very kind of lighthearted. I don't want it to be really tight, so. And I'm gonna draw the lips over here. I wasn't happy with the first version. I just wasn't happy at all. So let me see here. Okay, so I'm gonna put some of that marker there, but it's really not behaving very well, and I can't get it to work again. Okay, so I think that this page is pretty much done. The eyes are not, like, I could work on the eyes a little more and, you know, make them a little bit more kind of expressive, I guess. But honestly, I don't want to overwork this. So I think I'm really done. And this is a spread that came together very, very easily, I guess, and I didn't have to struggle too much, which doesn't always happen. Like, a lot of times I do end up struggling, and like I said, there's no rhyme or reason as to why things come together and why they don't, and I can't figure it out. I mean, sometimes it just, everything lines up and it works, and then sometimes I have to work up and work and work and work and struggle to get what I want and to get it where it needs to go. But I hope you enjoyed this. There's two parts to this series, and it's called Serendipity because this spread came together really quite fast and easily. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.